So hello and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to be looking at the difference between the VBA dictionary and the VBA collection. So these are both what we call data structures. They store kind of collections of items. They're similar in a lot of ways, but there are some major differences. So let's look at both. Now the first thing we're going to look at is how to declare them. So we declare a collection like this. We say dim, the variable name, and we say as a new collection. So the new keyword creates the new collection. Now we do a dictionary in exactly the same way, but the one difference is for us to use the dictionary, we have to basically add a reference file. So we have to say tools, references, and then we have to go and find Microsoft Scripting Runtime, and we've got to check this box. If we don't do that, we'll get an error. So if we don't do that and we do debug compile, you can see user defined type not defined. Now we add it back in and you can see that it's fine. So the reason for that is because the dictionary is actually not part of VBA, but it's part of a different library. But that's the beauty of VBA, is that we can use external libraries. So now the second thing is when we want to add an item. When we add an item to a dictionary, we have to have a key. So in this case, we're going to have the key as the fruit, and we're going to have the value as the number that we sell. Now with a collection, we actually add items, but we don't have to use the key, although we have that option, but we can if we like. Now the difference is, in this case, is that the item and key are reversed. So we put the item first and then we put the key, and that shows us the next difference, in that the collection, we can insert an item, we can put the item before, we can put the item after, but in a dictionary we don't have this option. But the idea of a dictionary is that the only time we go back to retrieve something is by using its key, whereas in a collection we can go through the collection sequentially, or we can access an item by its position. So once we've added the item, we can retrieve in both cases just by using the key. So debug print call, and we'll just put a bit of text there so it's obvious what it is. So collection is this one, and what we're going to get back is we're going to get back the value at Apple. And now dictionary will be the same. We'll write out the dictionary, and it's going to be the value at Apple as well. So Ctrl G brings us up the immediate window, and this is where debug print writes to. So the immediate window is very useful for demonstrations like this, and also very useful for just testing your code and see if it's working. So we've added the key Apple for both, and we've added the value 56 for both. So let's run the code, and you can see that collection 56, dictionary 56. Now the one thing that we can't do with the collection is that we can check if an item exists already. So with the dictionary, we can say, does an item exist? And we can use the dictionary.exists, and we can put in the key. We can say, does it exist? And you can see that it says true here. So Apple exists. Now if we said Apple 11, let's run this code again. You can see that it says false. Now the collection doesn't do this. However, if we go to the Excel Macro Mastery website, and we go to this post, the ultimate guide to collections in Excel VBA, and I'll post this in the link in the description. So if we go to this one and we go to shortcomings in the keys, so shortcoming of using keys, you can see that I've written a small function here, and this function allows us to check if something exists. So we'll just put it down here. And now what we can do is check if something exists in a collection. So we use it like this. We say call, and we say the key, which is Apple. So does Apple exist in the collection? And let's just copy this again, just so that we know which one we're looking at. This one is collection, and this one is dictionary. And let's comment out these lines to avoid confusion, and then let's remove what's in the immediate window, and we run this code, and you can see that Apple is in both. So Apple is in both. Now if we change this to let's say apple 4 and then we run the code again, it says false. So it's not in either. So the difference, as I said, was collection doesn't have an exist function, but we can easily write one. Now the biggest difference between the collection and the dictionary is that the collection cannot overwrite a value. So for example, if we have apple and we want to basically change the value of apple, we want to say, okay, let's put 100 at apple. And after we put 100 there, we're going to print it out. So let's bring these lines back into play. I'm going to comment out these guys. And if we run the code, you'll see that it says object required. Now, if we're using a dictionary, we can actually use this line of code and it will work fine. It actually changed the apple to 100, the value. The other thing with dictionary is that even if apple didn't exist, by assigning like this, VBA will actually add it. So you can see again, it says 100. And another thing that this line does is that if we wanted to add 100 to the what's currently at apple, we can just say like this, and even if it doesn't exist, VBA will add it. So in this case, it returns 156 because apple exists. But now we comment out apple, so apple doesn't exist when it reaches this line, and VBA can still cope with that by just basically creating the key and adding 100 there. So you can see this is the big difference between the dictionary and the collection, and that big difference is how we can use keys. Now, one thing that the collection does that the dictionary doesn't do is that the collection can access items by an index. So we can actually use 1 here, and this will tell us what's at position 1. Whereas with a dictionary, we don't have any way of getting position 1. The idea again with a dictionary is that we access with keys, not by the items. So this concludes the video on the differences between the collection and the dictionary. So I hope they're a lot more clear after this. So in some later videos, I'll be looking at examples of using the dictionary so you can really see the difference of when we use the dictionary and when we use the collection. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. If you would like to get notified when my new videos are published, then please click on the subscribe button and then click on the bell icon beside it. Now, if you'd like some more free Excel VBA resources, then check out my website excelmacromastery.com. There are major articles on all the major areas of Excel VBA. Each article has an easy to navigate table of contents as well as a quick guide that allows you to easily find the syntax you need. And there's tons of coding examples that you can copy and use in your own macros. You'll also find techniques that are not available anywhere else. I also have a VBA tutorial, and in this tutorial there's lots of activities and solutions so that you can try them all for yourself, and it's all absolutely free. So that's all from me, and I hope to see you on my next video.